Hello and welcome to Unwarranted Music Opinions. I'm June Lindberg here with Bryan Courtney.
Hello.
Chaz Jenkins. And we are happy to welcome you to the last episode of this show with the current theme song. It's something to celebrate. It's something that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, myself most of all. I've been waiting for this moment. And now that it's here, I breathe a sigh of relief.
God
Possibly
damn.
the most important thing ending in the past few days. Of everything in the past few days that has ended, this is the most important one.
Oh, you fuck off with that. At the time we're recording this,
politically,
at the time we're recording this, Joe Biden was just has become our official president. That's the worst thing is this. Fuck off with that. Fuck off with that. Yeah.
Well, he won illegitimately.
The last thing that to end is this.
This is our season 2 finale. If you remember season 1, this is our epilogue episode, our rankings episode. We're gonna rank our bottom 5, list some honorable mentions, and our top 10 albums. You know, the stuff that we thought the other people picked was the best and the worst. Me and Brian's personal very favorite segment that we do for the show. It's a good cap on the season, and we're going to take a break after this and pick back up with season 3 down the line. I've already got some good shit cooking up for that one that I'm very excited. I've been listening to a lot of different...
It'll seem like we didn't take a break at all, though, because, episodes will just keep coming out.
But, shut up.
Essentially, this episode is just our completely self-indulgent, arguably egotistical episode where we just go over everything that we have forced each other to listen to and talk about what we enjoyed the most and what we didn't enjoy the most. Because as I've said before, this show is mostly about exploring differences in opinion over a long period of time where we are just talking about as much music as we humanly can without going insane. And also without infringing on our actual adult responsibilities.
This was a interesting season. I think a lot more positive. But when it was bad, it was like actually awful. I feel like compared to last season, there's some questionable stuff that happened this season. But I think a lot more memorable moments. We had some great interviews. We had some cool guests. Tom Hummer being the most notable one from Velocities of Music. That was crazy. We got to interview Eric Herlock from Timber Choir, Tom Ski Mask from NOD.
We got to talk to Marion Coots and Andy Moore of Dog Faced Hermit.
Jane Seabury. Don't forget we talked to Jane Seabury this time.
That was this season?
Yeah.
Well.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Was that? Oh, yeah, shit, it was.
It's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe that when we did our last season finale.
Well, we took a huge break.
When we did our last season finale, remember when that was? That was like April or May of 2019.
Yeah.
Think about that's almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
A long time
ago.
A
lot has changed since then.
I think talking to Jane was the big payoff moment, I feel like, because we loved her music so much. And I think having more time to pick it apart and have it grow with me made that the most interesting interview. It also just was cool to look at how much media there was surrounding her. Like she had a whole documentary, and a couple of music videos that we weren't aware of.
Getting to talk to Jane and getting to talk to Marion. And not to discount the other interviews, because I loved talking to Eric Herlock and I loved talking to Tom Ski Mask as well. I mean, they were fantastic, both of them. But Marion and Jane are two of my biggest musical heroes. So getting to actually talk to them and sit down and talk to them for an hour was awesome. It was just awesome. There's no other way to put it.
Some great moments.
We talked about the best.
Let's talk
about
them.
To mention some of our favorite moments over the past year or so.
Well, we have a huge catalog at this point. We've done 52 episodes up to this point. And that's not including interviews.
Let's talk about the 5 worst albums that we have had to listen to this season.
So just like last time,
opinions.
It's going to go June, Brian, me, and we're going to just list them all off rapid fire. Same with honorable mentions, and then top 10, that's when we're going to round table it. So that's our, just like how we did it last time.
My bottom 5. In the number 5 spot is actually an album I did not dislike. Because, wonderfully, for me, there were only a handful of albums I rated lower than a 5. A 5 being an album that I didn't dislike. I didn't really like either. I thought had some good things about it, some bad things about it. So I had to look at my 5s and see which one I was just not taken with this season. Maybe just left the smallest amount of impact on me. And I'm sorry to both of you, because you both really enjoyed this album.
Oh, my.
And it really makes me sad.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to put this album here because I don't dislike it. It feels mean to put this album here. I guess if I had to, I would choose Kesha's The High Road.
Oh, no!
If I had to.
No.
But again, I'm not trying to make a big statement with this one.
That's not even what I thought you were going to say. No, not Kesha's High Road. No.
That means the thing Chaz didn't want is even lower.
Oh, fuck.
Okay. Number 4, Swans with the Glowing Man.
Yeah, we all saw that coming.
There is a long rant that you can listen to about just how much Michael Gira's vocals and lyrics do literally nothing for me. The instrumentation at times on this album is great, but at the end of the day, this is a band that I just can't bring myself to give 2 shits about when I listen to. It's not an album I hated, I just did not like it. Up next at number 3, The Meatmen with We're the Meatmen and Do You Suck? As Chaz said on the episode, in the end, it was truly the Meatmen who sucked. The Meatmen had a couple catchy choruses under their belt. They had a acceptably gruesome lead vocalist for hardcore punk in the early 80s. But they're also the kind of band that flirts with edginess to the point that even if they're not being serious or even if they're being ironic, their incredibly face value lyrics probably have led them to garner a fan base of actual bigots, potentially. They're the kind of band that really didn't seem too fussed with the difference between edginess for edginess' sake and saying something more. And in my opinion, and I know that other people may have differing opinions, I find very, very little value in the former. So I really, 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 really did not like this album.
Dirty Brown Dishwater.
Coming up at number 2. While I hate Michael Gira's vocals,
I already know.
there is one vocalist who I hate even more. And that's Mr. Oliver Tree. Walmart brand cringe lord is how I'm thinking of Oliver Tree in my brain. Awful lyrics. Super middle of the road songwriting. Just trendy, cringy production and an aesthetic that, like I said, is like Walmart brand meme lord. And I there's really nothing to say beyond that. I really hated this album.
Awful.
My number 1. My least favorite album that I had to listen to. But also probably the most important album that we listened to. An album that brought us together in ways that we never could have imagined. An album that none of us expected to mean quite so much. And that is the 2013 release, Ragdoll's Playground by Ragdoll. Terrible across the board. An album that I hated and discussed at length why I hated it. But in the end, it's really I who have lost. It is I who have been bonked. And I can never, ever unbonk myself.
Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
Very good.
Wow.
I'm going to move very quickly through my bottom 5 because they thing I care the least to discuss this time.
Bryan really struggled this season. He really struggled. I feel so bad.
You say you did this. Okay. So I didn't arrange these in any particular order necessarily, but I'll try to do that kind of off the cuff here. I think of the albums I have listed here, the least offensive is probably From Things Somewhat from the Black Watch.
Okay.
Which is just super mid, kind of a technicality inclusion. It just was really boring. Didn't really resonate with me on any level at all, but was inoffensive. Whatever. Just whatever. 4 through 1. I know the top 2. So in the number 4 spot, I think I'll put Kanoa. Or how do you say it?
Oh, Kainoa?
Really?
Come on, Bryan.
Kainoa, yeah.
Come on.
From your boy. What do we call him? Because we couldn't really say his name.
He goes by Is.
So, it was cool. There are some good songs on it, but towards the end, it becomes like easy listening. It's not very good. The problem is the back half. The back half is just not very good at all. Also, Men Who Climb Mountains is fucking awful. So, it's not super, super, super bad. There was only a handful of super bad ones this time around, but that one wasn't very enjoyable either. So in that respect, even though I was technically less positive this season, I don't know. I feel like there was just less awful to trudge through. Everything from here on out is pretty bad. Number 3 is Wat Tyler's Tummy. I like the ethos of the record and not much else. They had one good joke, and what did they do? They beat the shit out of a dead horse, by including 2 more versions of it. But I do like the ethos of the album. But no, not very good. A lot of it feels like a big shit post, honestly. But it just doesn't lend itself to like a listening experience. It just really doesn't. All right, and these 2 are legitimately awful. So number 2 is Chipmunks on 16 speed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This was
right out the gate.
I'm so mad that this was the first one back. Like what a waste of time. What? And a genuinely novelty album with no value other than this sounds kind of strange, doesn't it? There's the first song is a little bit mind blowing. It kind of is, but then it's a one trick pony. It's just that really cool first moment that's kind of interesting, but by the way, isn't great by any means. It's just oh, that's kind of cool. But everything after that, it's just the novelty wears off, and also it just grates. It just grates so hard, and the fucking refugee cover is so bad.
Theodore.
And it's at the fucking end, dude. Theodore. So it's just 5 more minutes of pain, and every song is so long because it's slowed down. So everything gets stretched, so it's even fucking longer. Oh, dude. No bueno. Number 1. And I was thinking about making this an honorable mention. I didn't think necessarily that this should land in the number 1 spot because it's kind of different. It's totally different from anything we've done and we'll probably ever do again, in that Chaz made it. And the revelation, the supreme bonk that came from this pick was absolutely worth the agonizing 1.5 listens I did for it. So really, this is less this is the worst thing we had to hear, and more of I just kind of want to immortalize it at number 1. To put it at 2 or 3 wouldn't really work. So it was either going to be off the list as just I just want to put this in its own category, but really, it was terrible. So I think it deserves, to be number 1, not only because it wasn't fun to listen to and it was the worst thing we've probably ever had to do.
There's worse.
There's probably worse. But, because it deserves some sort of spot where it can say it was number 1. I think it deserves that recognition.
Thanks.
Not because of its quality, but because
asshole.
of the context.
Thanks, Bryan. You piece of shit.
Big bonk. The big bonk was Supremes. Ragdoll's Playground by Ragdoll, which is Chaz. Chaz is Ragdoll. This is Chaz who loves Buckethead and is a young man. And he's I just want to make a fucking album like Buckethead. And then he did, And I think everyone else was too pussy to do it. Probably because they kind of knew what would happen. But luckily, Chaz was naive enough to think it would be good. So now we're here, Now we got all this shit. So it was totally worth. Deserves number 1 to be immortalized, if nothing else.
So Meatman and Parappa didn't make your list. Interesting.
Meatman should have been on here. Sub Meatman for Iz's album. I don't know how Meatman ducked it. I think I just forgot to type them out, and I was looking at what I had. So Meatman instead of is what I would say. That's a good catch because I didn't actually have that here. But like I said, I wasn't that concerned with the bottom 5. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sort of like a in memoriam.
To our fallen heroes.
Yeah, to our fallen heroes. It's like a wall of just things we hate.
It'll be great because maybe someday I'll make a sequel to that album and we'll do it for a sequels episode. See if my production quality or playing has improved any.
You'd have to bonk us again, but that'd be really difficult.
I don't know how.
Yeah,
you'd have to do the reverse. The album would have to get popular, and you'd have to keep your identity anonymous, and then we'd have to do it. We couldn't do it at the level of obscurity it's at now. Again, it would be obvious now. The trick was that. Because remember, Corey kind of caught on in that episode. He was like, this is so obscure, Chaz has to know who made it. And that was as close as anyone got to knowing.
Yeah.
So, to replicate those circumstances again would be very difficult.
Who knows? All right.
It'd be worth it, though.
Bitches. My bottom 5. Surprisingly, this was pretty easy because I can name on 5 fingers the bad albums I had to listen to.
I'll save you a hand, too.
I had a pretty positive experience for this season compared to last one. But when it got bad, it got really bad. My number 5 spot, Fabulous Muscles by Shoo Shoo. Just middle of the road for me, but not for the reasons you'd think. Not mid, just so conflicting of an album. On the one hand, such a powerful experience, truly taking back the curtain of a man's just horrible experiences in life with some just eyebrow raising and just powerful music. On the other hand, too much, just way too goddamn much. That's why it's the number 5 spot. I'm just split down the middle. I still don't even know how I feel about that record.
Your opinion on that record has made it extremely difficult to figure out which album of theirs we're going to do next. It's made it really difficult because I don't know, because I want to expose you to the greatness, but it's all kind of similar in subject.
So that's the most positive, not positive experience. From here on out is when things get bad. Number 4, Return to the 36 Chambers, the dirty version by Old Dirty Bastard. A horrible fucking album. What should have been great just turned out to be fucking awful. Just bloated like Nicki Minaj's Queen. So much of ODB's fucking obnoxious vocals with no production on them whatsoever. Middle of the road production by Rizzo, which really pissed me off because he's my favorite thing about Wu-Tang. And just an hour and an 8 of ODB. I mean, I would rather watch all of Cars 2, every season, I think 1 of Planet Sheen, and the Minions 3 times in a row than ever listen to this again. Awful.
Back to back like that? Are you sure? Back to back.
Maybe a day break between each one, but
yeah.
Number 3, Blaze in the Northern Sky by Dark Throne. Just a perfect example of not for me, but what made it even worse is that it just wasn't good. Fucking awful production with apparently keyboards in there that I don't fucking know, have to bring it into audition and take out the fucking noise to hear. Like, that's bullshit. Awful vocals that are so under the goddamn mix. I might as well just have the instrumental versions. So fucking stupid. Stupid.
Here we have a man who doesn't like black metal explain his thoughts about black metal.
We'll fix him.
I want to give it another chance. What scares me is that this is the beginnings of the genre, the definitive fuck.
Well, there's a lot
second
of
wave. This is second wave.
Black metal. This is kind of atmospheric, a little thrash metal influence, but like any genre of metal, there's a bazillion different types of it.
I mean,
first wave black metal is a lot more cleanly produced. It's a lot more kin to 80s thrash metal.
Mm-hmm. I mean, any way you slice it.
I mean, I could go on about how the different subgenres of black metal, but
any way you slice it, the first 14 seconds of this are just ruin the whole thing, and then we just get the chuggity chug, the little train that could of guitar riffing and muddy drums. Not a fan. My number 2.
So far, your first 3 albums on this list have all been great.
My number 2 spot. Picture, if you will, you're dating a beautiful Japanese woman, and it's getting serious. And
what's happening?
You go to her family reunion, and she has a cousin. Very, very off-kiltered cousin. Probably into some weird shit. Kinda wears a fedora, kind of just really just off guy, comes up to you and says a knock-knock joke that actually was kind of funny. And then imagine for 30 fucking minutes, he repeats the same goddamn knock-knock joke over and over and over and over. That was my experience listening to Tokyo Anal Dynamite, my number 2 pick by the Gary Gaga. Fucking atrocious. I hate this thing so goddamn much. It's just, what could have been? What could have been? Because all the pieces there to like a total album that I would be behind are there, but it's just no variety. The production is
so far. Your first 4 albums are all great. It's not wonderful.
I hate this thing. It
Chaz is truly above the public opinion. Doesn't give a shit,
But this was the worst thing until a certain episode came around where we decided to do weird albums again.
Right.
And in the same moment where I pulled the biggest bonk of my lifetime, Bryan decided to pick the worst goddamn thing ever conceived by man.
This episode, that weird episode, Chaz, I don't want to throw on the word iconic, but he absolutely became an icon. It was just so beautiful.
To anybody who's actually listens to the show should know, it's Bish Bosh by Scott Walker. The worst piece of art I've ever had to experience. Just mind-numbing masturbatory vocals. An hour of fucking obnoxiousness. A fucking fart sound. And just the artistic, up its own ass bullshit fucking... It's just awful. It is awful.
Wow,
so bad.
All 5 albums on your bottom list are great. They're all great.
So bad that I couldn't get through it a second time. That I decided to re-listen to my worst, like an album that I hated almost as much from first season. That turned out to be pretty damn good. So bad that it turned something else good. I'll give Scott this. He's a magician. That's my bottom 5.
All right. Wow. So I want to run some stats real quick, which is going to be pre-lit. I'm going to lead in with some questions. So for the 2 of you, because I've already seen the stats, so I can't answer for me in good faith. Do you think you were more positive overall last season or this season?
This season. No question.
What ratings are you taking into consideration? Everything that we did not pick was included.
So if you picked something, your rating for that pick is not considered. So this is, do you think you were more positive in regards to your co-host's picks this season or last season?
I think I was more positive this season.
Absolutely this season.
So you both think you were more positive this season?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know for a fact you were not, Bryan. You were probably more positive last season. I can say that for a fact.
You would be correct that I was more positive last season. I actually had the biggest drop in average because I think it was just more harsh this season, I guess, or more critical. I don't know. It just was lower for whatever reason. So, June, your average last season was a strong 6. It was a 6.7.
Yeah, you gave a lot of 6s, if I remember.
My average rating last season was a light 7 with 6.9. And Chaz's was pretty much a light 7 as well with a 7.2.
Okay.
But the average, so it was June 6.7 with me with a 6.9. Chaz was 7.2. So Chaz's was the highest by 0.3. For that. The average overall for the season was a 7, which, the average overall isn't necessarily that interesting. The average for the next season went down actually to 6.86, and it's because of me. So, June, your rating did go up, and Chaz, your average rating went up as well. You went from a 6.7 June to a 6.8 on the nose. I went down to a 6.5 from like a 6.8. Or from a 6.9, which is actually even more impressive. And Chaz went up by 0.02 points to 7.27.
Okay.
So, and the average rating for this season, which I totally fucking destroyed, was like 6.8. So, I was so negative this season that I ruined our average. Is basically what happened. Your all's minor improvements were vastly offset. Now, what do you think is the highest rated album from last season?
John Prine debut.
Embracism comes to mind. Maybe a James Seabury pick. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
It's no borders here. It's no borders here.
No borders here.
It was above a 9. It's our highest, from our enjoyment perspective, not including June's rating. Even it was a 9.5, so it'd be even higher with June's rating. But I think most positive should be more reflective of the people who hadn't heard it. I think that just reflects overall the ethos of the show a little more. So without taking June's rating into account, it's Jane Siberry, No Borders Here, which has a 9.5 average. What do you think it was this season without considering the pickers ratings?
Maybe
Wu-Tang?
Everywhere at the End of Time?
It was Wu-Tang. There's a bunch of ties. Like there's a ton of ties.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes where we all gave like a 9.
Wu-Tang was the only episode this season, let me double check, that reached a 9 average. After that, it's a huge tie. It's not worth breaking down. There's a couple of 8.5s in here, but Caretaker's there is one of the most highly rated. Just kind of quickly looking through. Another one is Bravado. Also did really well. But usually the most exceptional episodes, Free Will and Bob Dylan as well. But that doesn't include Tanner's score, so it'd probably be even higher. But yeah, it's Wu-Tang. It's Wu-Tang, and there's a couple of ties at like 8.5. So, but really, Wu-Tang was this time around. I think No Borders Here is a better overall. You know what I mean? Better overall episode. There's a lot of. That's what. Wonderful Beef as well.
I mean, Siberry, and that's how you pronounce her last name, is iconic for the three of us in our music discussion in general, because no one had heard of her from our group, and obviously Wu-Tang is a much larger artist.
Yeah.
So when you think about artists that define the show, I mean, obviously Jane Siberry is.
I think Caretaker does to an extent too, because even though that album is well known, no one really has a review or has a discussion on it.
There are a couple, but
as of the time we reviewed it, it didn't. It's since happened,
and it's blown up in the meme culture too. I've been seeing a lot of it's really growing, and I think that's great because I think it deserves
kind
to be
of a
talked
slow
about.
But steady growth. It's just the length of it. It's just such a long project, So yeah, there you go. I guess we could are doing our worst rated episodes. It was Ragdoll this time around, and the first time, I don't actually know.
Either.
Oh, it's Seether. Yeah, it is. Those are easier to recall, though. No, it's Seether and Ragdoll. So there you go. These hollowed halls with Seether and Chaz. Way to go, Chaz. Yeah. You are as bad as Seether, technically speaking.
All right, we ready? Honorable mentions.
Quick fire albums that I really enjoyed last season. My top 10 started with Now My Rated as a 7. This season, I have several albums in my honorable mentions that are 8s.
Nice.
So you can see how my average score has gone up a bit. Some of my honorable mentions I do straight up love and think are great albums. So the competition was a little harder this year for me.
Yeah. My honorable mentions are kind of split between... I would have loved to do a top fucking 15 or something, because I have like a bottom 5 honorable mentions, and then the top 5 honorable mentions, honestly, I think are all list worthy.
It's ridiculous how many times that I had like 2 albums head to head, like, which one's better? I was like, these things are like, I feel totally the same about them. It could be either one. It was tough this season.
So to start things off, the first honorable mention is Saint Pepsi with Hit Vibes.
Ooh!
Awesome future funk album.
Nice.
Also, Andrew WK with You're Not Alone.
Yay!
Some really great songs on that. Very fun album. The Flaming Lips come back in 2020 with American Head.
Let's go.
Really, really enjoyable record. Old Dirty Bastard. Return to the 36 Chambers.
Wow. Awful take.
Really great record. That album is just a blast to listen to.
Honestly, kind of sad it wasn't a weird pick. It is one of the weirdest ones we've done for the show.
Gal Costa with Legal.
Yeah, okay.
Another wonderful helping of Gal Costa. I adore her, and this was not a disappointment in any way. Janet Jackson with Control.
Ooh, nice.
Super fun 80s pop. Wonderful production and instrumentation and vocals especially.
I was harsh on it, but it's grown on me a lot since we listened to it.
Honorable mention is the soundtrack to The Last of Us.
Oh, shit.
Which I thought was a really enjoyable Listen, I gave an 8 when we talked about it.
That's like the moment when the crowd hushes. That's like the moment when the crowd hushes over and everyone's like, "Whoa, what? Like, that's a what?
Yeah.
Get out of here with that. That's a strong 6.
None of those are any, no particular order, but those are my honorable mentions.
Did any repeats? None of the ones you mentioned, June, are on my honorable mentions.
Oh shit!
Any repeats, Bryan?
No.
Oh, let's go!
I think the only repeat so far, literally, is me and Bryan
Ragdoll
on our work.
Come on. Ragdoll. How can you not mention that twice? That's crazy. All right, Bryan, hit it off.
Oh, shit. Okay, so, like I said, I'm going to do like my bottom 5 honorable mentions first. No particular order. I'm gonna go Yellow Album from SpongeBob.
No, it didn't make that.
You know, just a lot of just the hits were like there were just so many hits missing. I was baffled, but so much fun. Duck Stab really grew off me. It's really, really weird, but I don't enjoy it half as much as stuff that's, you know, in the list. It's cool. I thought I would mention it here because I think it still deserves a mention, even though I you know, hasn't really stuck around like the other ones have. Scott 4, really good pop album. Just, you know, a lot of highlights I really love. Wasn't into the slower cuts, but that first song is fucking incredible, and so is Old Man's Back Again. Love those fucking songs. Gourmet Ravioli,
yay!
A lot of fun to talk about. You know, I like everything I've talked about before this one, like the previous 3 mentions. Like them way more than that, but that one was just cool. There was a video tied to it, just a really interesting one to talk about and review, and one of the more memorable ones. As opposed, you know, there was a lot of stuff this season I wasn't really passionate about, I didn't really care for all that much. But this one like stuck out in my mind because it was pretty fun. It was just a lot of fun to talk about. Tim Bird Choir.
Yay!
Old Machines. Just was like a really unexpectedly quality, obscure, you know, there's a lot of really fucking obscure picks and the quality was dodgy a lot of the time. So this one was really cool. And getting to talk to Eric Herlock was just kind of cool too. So I think it deserves a mention here because we all really, really ended up enjoying it quite a bit. Okay, so these top 5 honorable mentions were all at one point, like
list contenders.
All at some point, we're competing for the bottom 5 of the top 10. So just consider these they are in a particular order, and consider them the bottom half of a top 15. Basically, is how I would look at these. So in a particular order, Beck, One Foot in the Grave.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Great singer song. Lots of great songs on here. Love a lot of the songs in here. Just really likable, really earnest, and the Calvin Johnson cuts are awesome too. Beverly Glenn Copeland, self-titled.
Nice.
Fantastic psychedelic folk record. The opener and the closer are like some of the best folk songs like ever. Like they're just so dreamy and insane, just ghostly. Just Beverly has this just insane vibe that he captures that is unlike anything else I've ever heard. But I just didn't think it was throughout as quality as some of the other stuff. And there's a lot of thought that goes into how to arrange this list, like just beyond enjoyability. I think like length is important. Like if something is really a lot shorter than a lot of the stuff we listened to and I really loved it, I still might put it below some stuff I thought was great, but not necessarily rated as high. Don't get too caught up in the rating here because the opinions wax and wane. What's more important is there are a lot of these albums are basically equals. But regardless of that, that point will come up at the top spot of this kind of top 5 honorable mentions. Anyway, Fishman's with what the fuck is that album called? Long Seasons. Just a great basically one big musical arrangement. Super psychedelic, super dreamy and wonderful. This great melodic atmosphere throughout. I love the little interesting part in the middle where the things kind of take a break so the melody can come back in. Just great. I know it's kind of a popular pick, and at one point I was considering it for the top 10, but I thought it was honorable mention worthy at the end of the day. Birds of My Neighborhood, the Innocence Mission.
Okay.
So
that grew on you.
Comfortable, beautiful little singer-songwriter record. Love the piano, just pianos all over this thing are so wonderful. So many great little phrases, so many great straightforward song topics, snow, where's the time go, and probably my favorite at this point, I've not seen this day before. That one's great. That one reminds me so much of like a Mount Erie song if the songwriting style was just so different, but I feel like spiritually it's kind of like a Phil Elverum song or even like a Julie Doran song too. Just to love the peaceful vibe on that song so much. And the final consider this the number 11 spot. And this was a difficult choice. I feel kind of bad about not having this one on the top 10, but I just think everything else here ended up being more quality given more time and given more consideration for the length of the projects, the consistency. So this is I would call this a snub. I would say this is maybe a bit of a snub. Dolly Parton, Jolene.
Wow.
Because I still really love this thing, but it's a great deal shorter than a majority of what made the top 10. And, Randy's amazing. I Will Always Love You, Jolene, Highlight of My Life, all great songs, but it's like 20 minutes and change. Like, it's not very long. So I wanted the things that were more consistently quality to get to shine, and this thing is kind of like, I think this thing is kind of attaining classic status now as it maybe didn't really have before. I think there's a lot more listeners. The vinyl was way more sought after. So it's great to see this thing get its recognition because it is really great. But I just I think it was just outside top 10. Consider that the bottom half of a top 15. Okay. And, Beverly Glen, Fishman's, Birds of My Neighborhood, Jolene. That would be the bottom of my top 15.
I like how so many of them are my albums.
June
wins.
Only repeated 2 off my honorable mentions.
2.
Only 2.
I want to guess. Can I guess?
Sure,
Can I guess?
Totally. 2.
June, let's take guesses. So they're only picks that I just picked that overlap. Shit.
It's Jolene and
I'm gonna go Beverly Glen, Jolene.
No, it's not Beverly Glen. It's Jolene.
Actually, okay. Final answer. Can't change it. I'm gonna go Jolene, Scott, Ford. Those are gonna be my picks.
Jolene and Fishman's.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'll just rapid fire, but I want to save one for the last. So the last one I'll mention the 2 that you repeated, Bryan, before then. Okay. I do honorable mentions a little differently. I should go ahead and mention this because I didn't really explain it well in the first season. These are a mix of albums I thought were memorable enough that were worth mentioning, despite how I might have felt about them, whether I was high or low. Albums that could have made the top 10 that didn't, and just albums I thought were quality. Just kind of a mix of those. So some of these are album like list snubs. Some of these are just good albums, and some of these I was like, maybe didn't love them, maybe I liked them, but they need to be mentioned. Hum of Life, Dog-Faced Hermans. Best post-punk anything we've ever listened to for the show. Fucking
That's
amazing.
Your honorable mention?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
holy
dude.
Fuck.
The
massive snub.
Oh, yeah.
Massive snub.
Big, yeah. Bravado, Kieran J. Callanan.
Dude, your list is awful.
Not as good as Embracism, but grew on me quite a bit after some re-listening. Amazing record.
I feel burnt already.
Super Mario 64 OST by Koji Kondo grew on me.
Someone had a good.
Grew on me quite a bit. A bit. Lost Wisdom by Mount Erie.
Yes, dude. At least it's such a simple, beautiful little album.
I tried so hard to get it up. I'm at a strong 7 with it. It's it is a
Jazz. It happens to all guys.
I know.
It's not a big deal.
Some of the most beautiful vocals you will ever hear on an album. I gotta think before I speak. Anyway,
I tried so hard to get it up.
Just couldn't get it up for Phil, huh?
This grew on me.
Get it up for Phil.
This grew on me a bit. Some of the most gorgeous vocals you ever hear. I just still think the instrumentation's a little one note, and I'm not a huge fan of the cryptic, poetic lyrics, although those have grown me a good bit. But I mean, the melodies, the songwriting are undeniable. Liana LaHavis, Self-Titled. One of the best picks for the show. Don't get me wrong.
That's one of our most watched episodes.
I love our fucking discussion of that album. I love the discussion on that. And I think the way it's packaged, the songwriting, the vocals, the lyrics, how it's just such a tight, consistent, just great. The Glowing Man, Swans. June, you are a big dum-dum. This album kicks major ass. The fact that it's almost like 2 hours fucking long and keeps your attention the whole time, amazing. Some powerful vocal performance, I think, from... I
love looking at June's face. Michael Gira.
Michael Gira. Love the instrumentation, the playing, the beautiful movements and Frankie M, The Glowing Man, the title track, amazing.
Hell yeah. That was a risky pick, man. I'm glad that shit went over well.
The self-titled album from NOD definitely has grown on me quite a bit. Partly due to interviewing Tom Ski Mask. That put so many things in perspective, gave it a couple more listens, really came around. Great pick.
I'm really glad that you came around on that because I've always felt like there was a level of catchiness and like vibiness to it that you could get into. So when you gave it a 5, it was disappointing, but I'm glad that especially that talking to Tom Ski Mask and getting his perspective on the lyrics and on the production and on the general amateurishness of the whole thing brought you around on it. Because again, like it feels like NOD are to hip hop in the same way that like underground super indie lo-fi bands are to like rock music. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like since we both really enjoy that style of music, I felt like this was the kind of hip hop that you'd be able to get into, and I'm really glad that it's finally
so much so that I found my own Memphis rap that you've not heard yet, June, that I'm gonna pick for next season. So that'll be fun.
Nice.
Another one.
There will definitely be more Memphis.
Oh yeah, another one. Lulu, Metallica, and Lou Reed. Like this the most of the three of us. Surprisingly went over well. Too damn long. Biggest issue. Love the playing. Love Lou Reed's psychotic vocals that half the time feel like rambling, but some actual lyrical things to dig through, and that ending track is breathtaking. Good shit. Now I'm about to say the two that you mentioned, Bryan, and then my final audible mentions. Scott Walker, purely for the fact that it was good and it was Scott Walker related. That's the only reason I'm mentioning it, is because it was good and Scott Walker related. Like Bryan, hang-ups with the slower songs just didn't really do anything for me. That opening track and a few of the other ones, Old Man's Back Again, World's Strongest Man, to name a few, are killer. One Foot in the Grave by Beck. This was one that I loved. So, like, a little long, but the melodies, the songwriting, I love the varied instrumentation. Just a great album. And then finally, Speed Your Trip by God Is My Co-Pilot. I feel like the most memorable pick for this entire show, even though I wasn't 100% hot on it. We will never hear an album quite like that, I think, ever on this show again. What a wild trip. And those are my honorable mentions.
I'm very glad Godco got mentioned. I love God Is My Co-Pilot so much.
All right, top 10. So,
top 10.
Like I mentioned, we're going to round table this. June will give her 10. Bryan will give his, I'll give mine, 9s, 8s, 7s, so on and so forth, until we get to the end.
Maybe we should...
Like we said, it's a super indulgent episode, and that's because we probably only have 10, repeat listeners, and we're doing this for our own sake, and because it's fun.
You say that, but some of our episodes have like 80 views, so,
but most of them are non-subscribers. Which means they could be repeat viewers, but...
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, subscribe, damn it.
Oh, if you're listening to this, drop a like, subscribe,
share that video,
comment if you have a suggestion. Tell us something rude.
Send money to my PayPal if you're listening.
My personal PayPal is Chaz Jenkins. That's CHAS _.
All right, June, hit it off.
We didn't mention this. I thought it was obvious, but nothing that we're picking are albums that we were already familiar with before the show.
Yeah.
So that's why there are certain albums that aren't showing up that you might, like Wu-Tang, for example, on my list. Wu-Tang's not going to show up because I was already very familiar with that album before talking about it for the show, even though I gave it a very high score.
That's kind of why we like to pick albums that neither have heard. It just makes the experience better. I feel like if we just picked classics the whole time, it would just get boring real quick,
It depends, because like I still really enjoyed talking about Wu-Tang, and it still brings added perspectives. But anyway,
true, yeah.
My number 10, Anna von Hauswolf with All Thoughts Fly. This album was a very meditative and beautiful piece of drone music. The best time personally listening to this was when I was basically half awake and it was playing through the speakers and I was just laying on the bed with my eyes closed. You can kind of hear every last little note change.
That's probably the only pick of mine that I wish I could put on my list.
It was one of my favorite albums of 2020.
My number 10 spot, Everywhere at the End of Time. I'm the caretaker. I think it deserved it. It wasn't my favorite necessarily, but I think it really deserves the spot due to the ambition, the sheer length of it, and the excellence of execution on not only the conceptual front, but the musical one as well. So I think this one just kind of deserves this spot because even though it's about the journey and you should take it at least twice, I feel like, or, try to make your way through once, no matter how many times you get through it. I think the concept at the core of the music, not necessarily even the dementia commentary aspect of it, it is really, really solid. And it is so ambitious. And it's a wonderful way to use time in music to execute a concept and not just, the music itself.
My number 10 spot, My Agenda by Dorian Electra. Holy...
I take it all back. Take every bad thing I've ever said.
Shit. Now, this should say something. This is the bottom of the top 10. Like this, and that, oh, man. Just scratched a musical itch that I haven't felt since middle school. Ridiculous music. So the nightcore, breakcore, happy hardcore bullshit that I kind of have a soft spot for, but with some poignant lyrics, amazing vocal performances, some features that are mind-boggling, but bring it 100%. And it's only 24 minutes. It only scares me a little bit. Amazing. Best hyper pop, all that shit that we've ever listened to for the show.
In my number 9 spot, an album from a band that I was already very familiar with, but it was an album of theirs that I simply hadn't gotten into yet because it has a reputation not as being bad, but as being a bit of a step down compared to the other works from this group at the time. We all talked about it and basically ended up universally agreeing that this might be one of their best, and that's Radioactivity by Kraftwerk.
Let's go! That's awesome.
The themes, the way that they're executed, the music itself, the experimentation that happens on this record. This is a Kraftwerk record kind of like no other, which is really something for a band that has made such a name for themselves and just recreating themselves. Yeah, this was wonderful. I didn't quite love it with the level of emotion that you two both did, but any hangups I had really were dissipated.
Number 9, NOD self-titled.
Yeah.
Great Memphis rap record. Super catchy. Love the vibe of the whole thing.
Great
the Renegades cut.
Great Memphis rap record. It's the only one I've heard. Great Memphis rap record.
Shut the fuck up. So, yeah, just wonderful. Great hooks, great diversity, and the very short track list. I love there's some like unintentionally, I think, comedic things about it, but that only really enhance it. Like how on, the second track, we already told you on the first song, we're not scared to die. It's just some unintentionally funny shit like that when they're plugging the mixtape at the end of the last track. They're like, hey, catch this project. Necessary at the time, but really funny now. Great vibes, great hooks, great diversity all over the record. Yeah, not sure what else to say.
Of course, shout out, like Chaz, I think was about to say, shout out to Tom Ski Mask
for creating one of the greatest hooks. For creating one of the greatest hooks we've ever heard
it's
for the
true,
show.
He did it.
Yeah. My number 9 spot is People Who Can Eat People Are the Luckiest People in the World by Andrew Jackson Jihad. This one grew a bit more than I initially felt and definitely deserved a spot on the top 10 spot. Some of the best lyrics we've ever had the pleasure of hearing for the show. So many layers, so many ways you could pick apart, which on surface feel really simple, but are saying quite a bit. Ferocity in the playing, great songwriting, super catchy, super poignant, super short, doesn't overstay its welcome. Only like one song I even have a hang up with, and that's Bad Things, I believe it's called. Just not a big fan of the lyrical content on that one, but every other song is stellar. I mean, what a great pick. And it was the first one out of the gate, so,
Yeah, it's called a softball, dude, because it's like, hey, let's just get back in after not recording for a while. You don't pick a fucking noise record and whatever you fucking pick, Chaz.
My number 8 is AJJ. People who can eat people are the luckiest people in the world.
Say their real name. Don't call
Andrew
me.
Jackson Jihad. They changed it.
I know. The first name's cooler.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, you derailed my train of thought. I agree with Chaz. This is an album in a style that I am not typically a huge fan of. It's a little emo for me. It's a little bit. It's got a little bit of a tinge of that pop punky, folk punky emo-ness to it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Initially, I didn't really like it that much, but the more we talked about it, the more the songwriting grew on me. And now I love this record. I think it's great. And when I think of the show, I think that if it wasn't for the show, I probably wouldn't have gotten to connect with it on the level that I have. Because if it wasn't for the show, I probably would have listened to it like twice and been like, okay, I like this okay, but it's not really for me. But because of the show, you know, I've had to give it those extra listens, really sit with it and think about it more. And here it is on the list.
Number 8, Andrew Jackson Jihad. Yeah, people who can eat. I know it's taboo to kind of pick your own.
Wait. 9, big head.
No,
this is 8.
Oh.
This is number 8.
Holy shit. I was making a joke, but you're actually dumb. Dab.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
We'll get in the edit.
I totally fucking bonked myself.
Can you count, dude?
No. I'm actually going in reverse. Dorian was my number 1 spot. Shit, you know. We'll just have to start over.
Start over. Yeah. Number 8, Acid Bath.
Yeah.
In the Kite String Pop.
Let's go.
Super good sludge metal record. Just disgusting. Like, take a bath. You know, it just fucking gross. There was more insight I got to this album after the fact too, and that the band were addicted to drugs and were like using heroin at the time, and some of the songs are kind of reflective of that. And, like, it really is just a dark record, but one that's more focused on creative freedom than its dark topics. And it's very, you know, if you were to just look at it on the surface, it just seems like an edgy, you know, for the sake of being edgy album. But I think their lives were embroiled in some really deep, dark stuff. And this is just sort of one way that, you know, the way they went about expressing it. And I think there's commentary on that aspect of the album on the album too. You know, I think they're coming from a place that is really disturbed and really upset. So, you know, and the record just fucking rules on a lighter note. Just sick fucking riffs all over it. Dax's vocals, I believe his name is Dax, right?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, Dax's vocals are fucking crazy on this thing. They're just so guttural. And then he has like a kind of a wonderful like grungy singing voice as well that is thrown into the mix. Just a really, really great album.
My number 8 spot is Time and Place by Kiro Bonito. An album that I wasn't the most onto on our initial discussion, but has grown on me so fucking much. So many listens. Like, everything I said, take it back. I'm stupid. Big dum-dum here. Amazing playing, phenomenal production, iconic vocals, such a masterful composition of how the album flows, the themes talked about. I mean, it really is the yin to the yang of fucking their debut. The fucking ending blows my mind. I had an epiphany that I was telling Bryan about. I think I got where just dissecting this thing and re-listening to it. I mean, it still scares the shit out of me. Like, Only Acting really disturbs me on a personal level. Any post-punk hyper-pop shit you guys pick will never, ever come close to how much that track scares me. I mean, it really makes me uncomfortable. It's amazing. Amazing album.
At number 7, Shoo Shoo with Fabulous Muscles.
Interesting.
I enjoy it for all of the reasons why Chaz was not that taken with it. I think the emotion and the just sometimes shockingly straightforward lyricism is disturbing, but it's also very enthralling in a way. And the instrumentation, the musicianship, Jamie Stewart's very signature vocal delivery, all amplify this to make a really, really, really good record. One with some songs on it that I absolutely adore, like the title track, Clown Town. Clown Town might be my favorite track on the record at this point.
Clown Town's great. I'm a Bryan the Vampire guy myself. Cool. Number 7, the Drones, Havilah.
Oh, what? Really?
Fucking, I just knew I needed some more time. I knew that's all it was for songs like odd luck and odd numbers.
The crowd is hushed again. The crowd is hushed again. There's this quiet hum in the crowd right now.
Bit of a shocking pick, but I love Garrett Lillard so much. Dude just writes songs that speak to me.
Because you're pissed off and not Australian.
He's just we feel the same way. I think in some ways. The music he writes is while it kicks a lot of ass is also very personal. So I don't know. He just really hits this niche for me of like this song goes so fucking hard, is so fucking rock and roll, and also like, yeah, man, everything's fucked. It's kind of upsetting, So that's where he's at on this one. This one's a little more personal, I think, than some of the stuff that I've been a huge fan of. But a lot of the way he messages that stuff or kind of codes it is still there. And just needed more time to pick it apart to realize how truly great it was, honestly.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed it that much because, like I said at the time, it's my favorite Drones record. It doesn't get talked about as much as the rest of their stuff.
It's a lot of highlights, I think, but I think the other songs are really quality. Like, just they're more quality than I gave them credit for at the time. But some of their most essential material lands here, I think.
Definitely, without question.
Kesha, High Road.
Finally,
my number 7 spot. A great record. Right. You're both dum-dums. This is an amazing album. So much punch, so much fuck you energy, so much I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. Amazing. Every song is
gonna fucking love Rainbow. He's going to love that fucking album.
It's just Kesha taking back what's hers and just having so much fucking fun. But there's some legitimate, great, catchy songs. Love how bouncy and noisy the production is. There's some great slow moments on here that go over really well. It is a mixed bag in the best of ways. There's just so much variety, and it's just great to see someone just kick ass and just have a great time. Love that record.
Chaz, you only do your own dance, man. No one can tell you. You don't do that dance.
I mean, Brian, I want to see you in your birthday suit. I hope you've got some secret tattoos.
Oh, getting silly here in Unwarranted Music.
Chaz loves it when I wear nothing but my boots. That's a deep. You don't know that Kesha song yet. You don't even know.
Number 6. We are getting closer and closer. It is Tin Bird Choir.
Yeah!
Old Machine.
I didn't think it was going to make it that high in the let's go. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
I really enjoyed talking to Eric Hurlock and getting his insight on the origins of some of these songs. The more I think about it as an evolution of a songwriter's abilities, both lyrically and musically and vocally, just the better it gets for me. And I know that the first 3 or 4 songs aren't my absolute favorite in the world. The last 5 tracks on this album, the entirety of the back half is gold. I mean, it's fantastic. No song less than great, in my opinion, on the back half of this record. Whoa. In fact, songs so strong that this album is way up at number 6 on the list.
Hell yes!
That's how strong those songs.
That is go off, girl. This is your moment. Your journey.
It's my moment. It's Eric Hurlock's moment, really. Right. Because it's wonderful to be able to appreciate an artist who, and an album, especially, an underappreciated artist and underappreciated even in his own catalog. I'm sure there are some people who are Eric Hurlock and Tin Bird Choir fans out there, but even in that context, this is not an album that gets talked about in any way whatsoever. And again, I just loved being digging this up the way that you did, Chaz, right? Digging this up out of and dusting it off a little bit, giving it a listen, saying, hey, this is actually really good, and getting in contact with the guy who made it 20 years ago or more at this point, almost 30 years ago. Holy fuck, I'm old.
In the past.
And talking about it and talking about where he was when he was writing these songs. It was just a really great experience all around.
Number 6, Chumbawamba, Anarchy. Not as good as the debut, still great. Still a great record. Kind of underscored it when we talked about it originally. Really no bad songs. Fuck with the politics. Bad Dog, amazing song.
Thank you.
Best.
Thank you.
So is Mouthful of Shit.
Yep.
Amazing song, one of their best. Heaven Hell grew on me a lot. Love the opener. Love the Fuck You Bono song, basically. Again, the second Fuck You Bono song. You know, just a couple of progressive libs telling other libs that they're not progressive enough. Pretty much. You know, shitting on, you know, making fun of the idea that Bob Dylan's an anarchist. You know, that kind of stuff. Just a lot of political topics. But great fun. Great fun. Kind of a little cheesy. Kind of very cheesy.
Oh, it's
actually.
very cheesy.
But
it has raps on it. And this
but
is
it's just undeniable to me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they take a style, like this alternative dance explosion that happened in the UK in the early 90s and just make it their own.
My number 6 spot, Jolene by Dolly Parton.
Didn't get snubbed.
Best country this season. Best country this season. What more is there to say?
One country album that we talked about that you rated higher.
There's one, but that's gone down for me. So,
you.
You picked this too, Big Head.
I know, but I wanted someone to mention that one.
Which one are you talking about? John Prine? You're talking about John Prine?
Patsy Cline.
Ah, Patsy Cline.
Girl off me. No, Dolly Parton's
Didn't
better.
even remember it.
Dolly Parton's better.
Dolly Not even an honorable mention for Patsy Cline.
Justice for Patsy.
The fucking competition, June. Anyway, this is my time. Fuck you. Jolene by Dolly Parton. Best country for the show for this season. Amazing vocals, amazing songwriting, just such it's 24 minutes, just brimming with personality and such beautiful instrumentation. A grand old time. Absolutely amazing. And that opening track is just top 10, top tier.
Still sad about Patsy Cline. Still rightfully very sad about Patsy Cline. And there's still a couple of albums that I'm expecting to see on your list. And if it's not there and it's not in the honorable mentions either, this is gonna be over.
You're gonna do what? You're like 3 hours away from me. You ain't gonna do shit.
Yeah, well, I can fucking beeline over there with a hammer and a mallet, and I'm gonna take you out.
Over music? You're crazy.
Number 5. An album by a band that I know very well, but not an album that I know very well. Last season, I chose Buckethead's Colma. That was on my list because I had heard it before, but it was a long time ago. It was like once, and I didn't really know what to think of it. I didn't really have much of anything to say about it. It's a very similar situation with this album. It's not the last album of this band's catalog.
Yeah.
But in a way, it feels very final. And that's Quebec.
Yeah, let's go.
Some of their best songwriting
Facts.
In general
Facts.
On this album. Only a couple songs that I'm not 100% thrilled by. I think there's a great variety of sounds that happen. The more serious turn, even though for Ween it's always serious in quotations, the relatively serious tone on this album is actually done really well, and it gives them a chance to flex their songwriting and melodies and just everything that has made Ween great from the very beginning, proving again for the bazillionth time that they're not just kind of like a meme or a joke band, that they have the musical props and especially more than anything else the songwriting behind them to make them just fantastic.
Let's go. That's awesome.
Number 5, huge snub from Chaz's list, in my opinion. Dog-Faced Herman's Hum of Life. Oh, this is I kind of want to cheat. I didn't want to use a duplicate. Like, I didn't want to have someone appear twice in the list again. So this is kind of also a spot for those deep buds. But I think it leads to greater variety if I only get one pick per artist. So, but, you know, Hum of Life is my favorite of the two. Just wow, Marion Coots, amazing vocals, amazing playing all over this thing, song topics that are really engaging and have a really wide variety too. The Jan 9 is like a fucking killer post-punk song, as is the variety I think is one. Like Madame Lemaire is this like really chanty, atmospheric, strange kind of really only can really only be called post-punk kind of song, but then you also get fucking total ragers like Love Split with Blood, and my favorite track and for some reason the name escapes me. How We Connect.
Yeah, how We Connect is amazing.
Like, just the variety on this thing, the great energy throughout, great songwriting, Marion, Adam, all those people. His name
Adam? Andy.
Andy. I wasn't there for the interview, my bad. But just fucking great post-punk record. And so in Those Deep Buds, even though it goes in kind of a freer, I guess like more of a free jazz direction, like it's a lot more less song structure and more about just kind of the ideas get more attention than the songwriting. It's still such a great album too. I see them sort of as like sister albums because I think Those Deep Buds can't really exist without Hum of Life, and I think in some ways it's an extension, but it's also really different. So this is kind of for both those albums, but really it's Hum of Life is my favorite of the two.
My number 5 spot, Can't Stand the Rosillos by the Rosillos. Amazing punk release. Holy shit. Just song for song with maybe a few hiccups here and there. But I mean, the energy is consistent, but some of the songs on here are just some of the best we've ever listened to. I love the production. I love how the drums and guitar sound, the female vocals and the male vocals taking turns. They all bring it 100%. It's just so good. So good. Like, someone's gonna get their head kicked to die. Like, can't even praise.
4. Another artist that I am familiar with, and another album that I was not. Captain Beefheart, Mirror Man. Awesome jams on this thing. Awesome jams.
Take you for a ride on my airplane.
Fantastic instrumentation. I love the vocal delivery and the vocal performance. I mean, it's even like these sort of like almost post-rock guitars that show up on this thing.
Really on Candy Corn.
Love this kind of music, this jam instrumentation. They're just riding on a groove, and it's fucking 20 minutes long, and it's awesome. That's the kind of stuff I grew up with, and I'm obviously going to love that kind of stuff. But this has Captain Beefheart's own spin on it, and I love it even more for that.
To this day, that fucking little, I forget what instrument it is. It's like a clarinet or something. Just on Terraplane is like, whoa. Number 4, American Head.
Yeah, let's go.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful record. A lovely look back on the life of the band members in a very thoughtful way. Psychedelic and modern too. Like, I know the band's been at it for a long time, but this doesn't really sound any differently produced than any record I've heard from recent years, from like the last 3 years. So I think they really had something special. I mean, this is truly a gem. It's also only my second Flaming Lips record. So, I was happy something modern they released could be so gripping, because it makes me want to go check out the older material, more than I did before, which was not at all, but great. Just totally over delivered expectations wise.
And I think me and Chaz can probably agree there when you say a modern Flaming Lips record that is worth looking into, because and I'm really glad that it made you want to look into their old stuff, because their older stuff is not that different from this. Like, this album compared to The Soft Bulletin, this album compared to Yoshimi, it's not that far of a cry musically and even lyrically, even though this might be slightly more serious.
I think melodically
they've always had serious themes and emotional themes in their music, even if they've been weird and wacky.
See, I think that's why maybe the first album we did of theirs maybe wasn't necessarily the best first taste of them, because this was, to me, the melodies too, like My Religion Is You. A lot of the songs, the way the songs go into one another, it just really wonderful, really, really wonderful album.
My number 4 spot, Honeymoon by Beach Bunny. Amazing.
Oh shit.
Amazing. An album that when I heard it, I knew was going to be on the top 10. It has really grown on me a lot. Just Died Sick done great. I mean, yes, there's songs about relationships. Yes, there's songs about, those relationships sucking. But it's done in such a mature and introspective way. And the playing kicks ass. The songwriting kicks ass. The vocals are so much better. I mean, it's just fucking great from front to back. Love it. And I love the lyrics on it too. Just solid album.
Number 3, Anarchy by Chumbawamba.
Fuck yeah. This was top 5 at one point. It was top 5. Like this, it was sitting at like number 3 for a while.
Like, it's like a strong goddamn 8. I love basically everything about it. It's, like I said, it is just this time period in early 90s Britain where just rock bands decided to mess with dance instrumentals. And there's a lot of shit that came out, but there's also like a few awesome like alternative dance records, and this is going to be listed among them, I think. Awesome lyrics, cheesy as hell, but in a fun way and in a way that just gets the point across even better. The hooks are so good on this album. The hooks on this album are like
the hooks.
They're mind-blowing, really.
The hooks, boyo.
I just had so much fun with this record that I had to put it up this high because the hooks, the songs just stuck with me so long after listening, and I can bring them up like in my brain right now, and it's just such
Does this look dangerous to you?
There are some serious songs on there too, like Homophobia and Georgina too, though.
They're all great. They can just flip it at a turn of a hat.
We will do Chumbawamba again for sure. I'm glad they're becoming such a
clear the Discog.
Yeah, for sure.
Clear the Discog.
We got to do one of their folky picks. We got to all of them. Okay, there's a lot.
They're all over the place. Like the band is a little fucking crazy. So I don't know. I feel like anywhere we go with them could be a lot of fun. You know, I've enjoyed if things get shit really quickly, like if we do 3 shit ones in a row, maybe we'll just,
dial it back.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't disliked anything so far really at all. And with them. Number 3, Adrian Linker songs.
Oh, no fucking
Gorgeous.
way. No
Gorgeous
fucking way.
Songs. Enchanting, totally enchanting. Just song for song. He's fucking like freaking out right now.
Chaz is number 3 songs as well, right?
Dude,
is it
number 3 songs by Adrian Lenker? Quality.
Yeah, okay, so we'll talk about it together.
Fucking quality. One of the best picks for the show. For the show, period.
Yeah.
I mean, every track, dude. A memorable guitar line.
Her vocals. Her vocals are so enticing and like just I fucking listen to everything she says. Like it's so wonderful. And just knowing how the album was recorded in the middle of like this cabin on a tape machine that had to be repaired or restored or something.
And, dude,
they were literally like they would take a bath in the creek. Like it's such an intimate little album. You know, it really feels like, I know you don't know someone because you listen to their music, but it just feels that personal here.
Dude,
and she just has a wonderful mind.
That fucking ending where it just stops abrupt is powerful. It's just a powerful
I love the
record.
Build on My Angel to that little riff. It's so fucking great. I love Zombie Girl.
Yes.
I love Anything and Indigo.
I love every track.
Just ever listened to for the show. Also, Half Return. Goddamn, it's just fucking
quality.
Incredible. My favorite album from last year, as far as I'm concerned, was just amazing.
Oh hell yes, because that's my favorite album of 2020 as well.
It was great. And we don't, our opinions don't ever line up like that either. Like ever.
No,
like we
really,
are on 2 different fucking boats when it comes to favorites like of contemporary. So. Great, stand out.
You're
stellar,
like 2
amazing.
boats, but then you're in that scene in the third Pirates of the Caribbean where like the masts connect and you're in the spinning whirlpool.
Yeah,
that's this album.
Pretty much. That's weirdly apt. Yeah. Okay.
I'm so glad that I got you guys to really, really enjoy.
That's crazy. Same spot, dude.
Yeah, that's my number 3 spot. Songs by Adrian
If our number
Lenker.
2 spot's the same, I'll launch a turd through these shorts. I swear to God.
Number 2, Leanne the Hovis.
Oh fuck! I did it.
Woo!
What was your number 2 last season? I don't remember. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't remember either. It's been a long time.
I'm so close to winning. I will win. I'm gonna win season 2.
Leanne the Hovis. I gushed about this album when we talked about it. Second, really only to Adrian Lenker as far as my favorite contemporary songwriter, if that's releasing music right now. I absolutely adored her blend of folk and soul, a little bit of a Brazilian flair. I loved learning about her influences when she was writing this music because it's all awesome stuff. Like I read that, you know, she was listening to a lot of Milton Nascimento, and I was like, hell yes, she knows what's up. And it's not like this album is just the sum of its influences either, because she does her own thing and has her own personality as well.
Facts.
She's able to take a song from a band as famous as Radiohead and make it her own. One of the better Radiohead songs on that very well-loved album, and actually match up to the quality, if not exceed it. And that is very, 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 very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first Lianne La Havas album that I've listened to. I don't know if it's her debut or not.
It's not her debut, but this is pretty much a lot of people's first taste of her, I think.
Yeah, and I am so excited to see where she goes from here, because this was just like, this was really wonderful. Really, really wonderful. It's like I gave it an 8 at the time, but it might as well be a 9 now. I
tried to pick this up on vinyl a few months ago, but they fucking ran out of it or whatever. I actually got refunded because there was no more copies.
God, I hope she blows up even more.
Number 2. Chaz is waiting because he knows what's next. If it's not, you know, he knows what's up. So Chaz is caught onto the plot. A record that blew me away, and I had to consider where I was going to put it due to its status of not only the artist, but the album itself. But that ended up not factoring into this list at all, honestly. I was kind of concerned with the very, very top spots being really well-known stuff. But at the end of the day, honestly, I would have never sought this out on my own. And it floored me. It was gorgeous. It's Pharoah Sanders. It's this amazing jazz record. There's just free jazz and spiritual, the woodwinds all over this thing. This track explodes out of the gate and then kind of settles on the screw for a while and then explodes again. I love the group vocals. I love the just huge arrangement on this thing. It's just total overload of love and affection in human spirit. Like, you just don't really fucking hear this energy in music all that often. It's stunning. It really is. I don't want to take too much away from Colors, which is the second track on here, but the main arrangement that is on this album is like a milestone in jazz music. I mean, it is transcendent. I feel like this is the best of the best, not only in jazz, but in music. I feel like it just maximizes everything it could be doing to the fullest level.
That's everything I really could have hoped for when I chose it. Because I know we didn't talk about jazz enough. So I figured, why not choose my favorite jazz album, an album that no one could ever critique as being, you know, academic, which is the way some people see jazz. You know, some people see jazz as being very technical. This album, while its musicians are obviously very talented, technical is the last word you'd use to describe this thing. So I figured maybe a good entry to jazz. And for both of you to love it and for you to place it so high, that's just awesome. Especially because, like, I love this style of jazz and I have other albums that I can give to you. And I'm just so ready to watch your musical journey go even further. Like, I love the fact that I'm able to help you along and give you these awesome albums. Like, I'm almost tearing up that this music has affected you in such a positive way, because it's affected me in that positive way too. And that's what the show's all about, is to give, it's to help each other have those experiences. It's awesome. I really, that's why I love doing the show. I am tearing up, actually.
You two are so damn cute. You two are so damn cute. My number 2 spot. Aww, Jude. My number 2 spot. Wu-Tang! Wu-Tang! Enter the Wu-Tang!
This is my moment! This is my moment! Yes. Everything June said, but for this one, this pick. It's so
Wu-Tang
fucking
Clan.
good!
Their debut, amazing. Front to back, killer! Everybody fucking kills it.
This is back when me and Chaz liked ODB. This is back when we were into it.
Before that. Oh, man. every rapper, amazing moments, spectacular production from RZA. Just creates this mythos and lore never seen before in rap at the time.
Landmark hip-hop
Landmark!
Cream.
It's fucking great! Just wish these solo records were as good, damn it! Because they're not! They're fucking not! But so good. I mean, what more can I say? Every track, every member, every beat, spectacular. Spectacular.
I am really wondering what the heck Bryan is going to choose as his number one.
I already know.
Chaz. So number one for me last time was a June pick. Number one for Chaz was a Bryan pick. Number one for June was a Chaz pick. So I'm very curious to see
how this changes.
Where we end up this time.
Okay. My number one this season, the album that affected me the most, the album that I was most grateful to this show
fucking say it, Jude,
was Everywhere at the End of Time by Caretaker.
Let's fucking go! Woo! Let's fucking go, dude! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go!
So, if I had listened to this album without this show, it probably would not have been anytime soon because of the length. This album not only is fantastic in its own right, it's actually made me a better music listener because I can listen to a 3-hour or whatever drone record and think, this isn't 6.5 hours of emotional turmoil. I can handle Everywhere at the End of Time. I can handle this. It's really opened up like entire genres to me. Like, not that I didn't like drone before, but particularly minimal drone that lasts an hour a track, not really my thing. But now I'm listening to freaking Pauline Oliveros and Elaine Radigue, maybe is how you pronounce her name, and other drone artists, and really, really enjoying it. Drone, dark ambient. I've been super into ambient lately. Maybe it's because I'm at work all the time and I don't want to listen to something super upbeat that is going to fry my brain when I'm, having to deal with work at the same time. So I just want to put on something a little more atmospheric. Everywhere at the End of Time
if
is
only high school June could see you now. You've really come through. I'm glad you're finally seeing why ambient is like so fucking good. Like that kind of stuff is so good.
Yeah. And Everywhere at the End of Time, as Bryan mentioned when he talked about this album, is masterfully crafted. All 6.5 hours is masterfully crafted. This would be a good listen even if it didn't have an incredibly poignant message to it. And it just so happens to be so ingeniously made to where even just the structural elements of the album perfectly support its message. It's not just the sound of the album. It's like the way the album was packaged and released. It's the fact that it's so long. It's the fact that if this album was an hour long, I don't think it could have gotten in the same level of exhaustion emotionally that it is designed to have. It's just this slow descent. Slow, painful descent. I mean, good God, I listened to it twice. One time I listened to it in pieces. And then the last time I listened to it was in full, all 6.5 hours. The only breaks I would have had would be like to use the bathroom and get something to eat. And honestly, like I had that second listen to make sure it was as good as I thought it was, to make sure it wasn't just like a, wow, I'm amazed by this, but I'm not going to come back to it. It still has that power. It didn't wear off for me. That moment when a melody comes back through all of the madness that happens in like stage 5,
mm-hmm.
That moment is really tear-jerking and incredibly powerful. Some of the most emotionally powerful music I have ever heard. That's why it's a number one.
Wow. All right. So, yeah. Okay, so my number one spot is an artist we talked about before that I liked, but this was truly next level. I thought it was incredible. just the way it covered, the way the album flowed, even though the mood is more somber and things are a little more experimental, I think that some of their most beautiful songs I've ever heard are here. Some of their most memorable melodies, a lot of atmosphere, and just so fucking cutting edge. Really, above all else, I love it because it's just so fucking ahead of the curve, and it's, even though its messaging is quite simple, it's commenting on technology, not only of like past, but also kind of was predictive, I think, of in some ways. So
Chaz is gonna explode.
Say it!
It's Kraftwerk. Chaz swept it. Chaz
not
wins.
Only made June's top pick, but Bryan's. You guys can never give me shit for anything I pick ever again because I just completely dominated this whole fucking thing. Let's go.
Chaz was number 1 on both of our lists, June, on worst and best. So Chaz sweeps it. Chaz wins season 2. Because he got both number 1 spots. Not only on the best list, but on the worst list, too. And one of those spots is literally Chaz himself making the music. Like, not just his pick, but, like, it's actually Chaz. So, that's, I mean, you win. This is pretty much it. I don't think this could be duplicated.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is your shining moment, so. Mm-hmm. But, yeah. Radioactivity. Fantastic. I just love the way they sing about technology. You just don't really see it a lot. And done in such a artistic way as well. So yeah, great, fantastic, the best one.
Well, Bryan, you could celebrate a little bit more because my number 1 spot is "All Thoughts Fly" by Anna von Hauswolf. The best thing we've heard for the show. Just like how Bish Bosh is the worst kind of art, this is the best kind of art. Completely surpasses the music. It's an art piece. It belongs in a fucking museum. The way this woman plays the fucking organ is just mind-boggling. The improv nature of it, where it feels completely written, but also completely improvised at the same time. The atmosphere, the emotions it invokes. The fucking title track is just breathtaking. I just was transported to this place like I was a kid again. Just I don't know. I've never felt such nostalgia and emotion since listening to some Aphex Twin. I mean, it really is a gorgeous, gorgeous album. It surpasses anything we've mentioned because I think it is more than just a piece of music. It really is like a piece of art that I would love to gawk at and just stare at in a museum for like hours. I mean, shit, it's great. It's fucking great.
Wow. All right. I think that sums up all of our lists.
This was a hell of a season. This was a hell of a season.
Chaz won everything. June didn't get any number 1 spots. Suck a dick.
No, but I got your number 3 and number 2, and Chaz's number 3. And Chaz, what was your number 2?
Wu-Tang. Sorry.
Okay, well, that was an easy pick.
I know, but I've never heard it, never experienced any Wu-Tang, had to put it on.
June wins. Really, it doesn't matter who gets the number 1 spots. It's just the fact that June wins.
June, did you make a piece of music and sneak it under the radar and have us review it without us knowing that you made it? No, you did not, so shut the fuck up.
This has been Unwarranted Music Opinion, the finale of season 2. Next time you see us, which will likely be on it'll look regular to you, but we're taking a break, so we'll be back fresh for season 3, where we'll
new theme song.
Hopefully,
I hope I'm not proven wrong by the beginning of the next episode. Like, thank God.
This was great. Oh man,
right,
goodbye.
This has been.
I already did that bit. I already did that.
I'm June Lindberg. I was here with. You didn't do the part with the names, bitch. I'm June Lindberg. I was here with Bryan Courtney.
Fuck you.
And Chaz Jenkins.
In the end, of all the music we listen to, the worst one will still forever be Any Other City by Life Without Buildings. Such a tragedy.
I will actually.
I would like to retroactively put that in my my number 5 worst spot.
I will literally stab the 2 of you to death and go to jail for the rest of my life.
You'll have to censor that part. That's incriminating. Jazz, you'll have to do something about that.
Fuck you. It's true. And we'll see you next time.
Bryan, yell play me out.
Play you out. Oh, hold on.
Yell play me out.
I don't have a guitar.
No, just yell play me out, you big head.
Play me out.
All right.
Chaz.